This is the incredible story of traveling Trevelin Queen. Trevelin Queen living the NBA dream. If only it happened that easy. The NBA is full of stories about players overcoming the odds, but none of them are quite like Queen's story. As a freshman in high school, Trevelin Queen was a great three-sport athlete. His best and favorite sport to play wasn't even basketball, and that was his favorite sport to play. The summer following his sophomore year, he grew 4 inches to the height of 6'1". That's when he realized his game was basketball. This is where his unbelievable journey would start. Queen was living in Glen Burnie, Maryland. He wasn't happy with his high school basketball program, however. He knew if he wanted to get noticed and have a shot to play D1 ball, it would have to be elsewhere. He had a sister attending high school in Florida that was more basketball-oriented. So Queen packed his bags and made the trip. When he arrived in Florida, it would be the first time he was handed some bad news, but not the last. You see, Queen arrived in Florida ready to dominate on the court until he found out that his transfer papers arrived too late. He wouldn't be eligible to play his junior year. It was definitely frustrating, Queen said. When I went out there, I didn't know anybody. Just not being able to hang out with people or whatever on top of not being able to practice was just tough. I would just go to the neighborhood park by myself. So he decided to move again. Queen headed back to Maryland with his mom for his senior year. Clashing with the coaching staff, he left the team mid-season. With less than a full season of varsity ball to show, Queen knew he wouldn't get any looks from colleges. He didn't give up on his dreams, however. He just took a different route to them. That summer, he took his talents to an AAU team, led by one of his former coaches. While there, one of the assistant coaches, James Watkins, noticed Queen's game. Watkins was the interim head coach at Prince Community College in Maryland. He talked Queen into joining the team for the upcoming season. Then, Queen was hit with yet again the same type of problem. He was bitten by another paperwork issue. This forced him to redshirt, and another year of eligibility was taken from him. This prompted Queen to yet again take his talents elsewhere. Watkins got Queen a shot out of Marin College in Oakland with Coach Marshall Collins. Little did he know that things would hit an all-time low for him in Oakland. Just after Queen arrived in Marin, Coach Collins was fired. Queen had no one and nowhere to go. He and a few teammates found a retirement home to stay at. They didn't last long, however, and would end up being kicked out for a noise complaint. One of Queen's teammates had another option, but it would involve him risking his life. See, one of Queen's teammates had some extended family about 45 minutes away in East Oakland, one of the most dangerous areas in the country. They agreed that 4 or 5 of Queen's teammates could stay with them. This is when things went from bad to worse. When Queen and his teammates arrived in East Oakland, they couldn't find Queen's teammates' family's home, so they were forced to sleep in the car. There wasn't much more we could do about it. After the 4 of them slept in the car for about a week, they were finally able to find the house. It wasn't exactly a 5-star hotel either. Queen found himself staying in a 2-bedroom house with 12 people. But Queen, as humble as he is, was just happy to have a roof over his head. That season at Marin, he led the team in points, rebounds, steals for the first 14 games. But his family wasn't happy. Worried for his safety, they talked him into transferring to the New Mexico Military Institute in Roswell. It didn't take the staff there too long to see that he was something special. Sure enough, he took over the star role that season. He would end up being the number 8 prospect on the JUCO recruiting list by the end of the season. And finally, Division I scouts would take notice of Queen. He would end up committing to Western Kentucky for the next season. But of course, Queen would run into yet more problems. God damn, somebody really needs to stop messing with this man's voodoo doll. But anyways, Western Kentucky went over its scholarship limit, leaving Queen without one. That happening, accompanied with Queen having another fallout with yet another coaching staff, meant Trevelin was traveling again. This time, it would be a life-changing experience for the better, finally. Cause with him leaving Western Kentucky, New Mexico State jumped on the opportunity to bring him back out to the state of New Mexico. He felt at home there and wasted no time committing to the Aggies. Now a junior, he found himself fighting for playing time, which was something new to him. He welcomed the challenge, however, and waited for his opportunity. He would get it, and it would change his life forever. The Aggies found themselves in the WAC Tournament Championship against Grand Canyon, with a trip to the NCAA Tournament on the line. Grand Canyon controlled the game with a consistent 8 to 10 point lead at the start of the game. And with about 10 minutes left to go in the first half, our boy Queen stepped on the floor and balled out. He came out drilling a couple threes and helping bring the game to a tie. He didn't stop there, and the Aggies would have the lead by halftime. This man would stay on fire for the rest of the game and help the Aggies turn it into a blowout. The performance got Queen the MVP of the WAC tournament and sent the Aggies to the NCAA tournament. However, his shining moment didn't last long. The Aggies would lose to Auburn in the first round of the tournament, and Queen struggled. But he still had his entire senior year to look forward to. Or so he thought. Coming into his senior season, Queen was on Bleacher Report's top 50 NBA prospects. He was number 30. That means he probably would have been a first-round pick. And Queen had a great senior season, all the way up to the conference tournament. But that's when disaster hit. See, he bit on a pump fake and landed awkwardly. He would tear his lateral meniscus and be out for the rest of the regular season. But he came back strong and ready for the NCAA tournament. But this time, only to be stopped by a force that threatened the entire world. Before he could show the world his game in the NCAA tournament, COVID-19 hit, putting an abrupt end to his season. Trevelin kept high hopes that he would still be drafted into the NBA that year. However, it was not to be, and Queen wasn't taken in the draft. But the NBA had taken notice of him though, and in November of 2020, the Houston Rockets signed him. This would be the start of his NBA roller coaster. A few weeks later, the Rockets would put him on waivers, making him a free agent. In September of 2021, Queen signed with the Lakers, and again, just a few weeks later, would be put on waivers and become a free agent. He signed a two-way deal with the Rockets, and that's where Trev went off. And after going through all those trials and tribulations, he entered the G League season with something to prove, and he did just that. Queen would go on to win the G League MVP, averaging 25.3 points, 6.7 rebounds, 5.2 assists, and get this, 3.2 steals a game. He also took his team, the Rio Grande Vipers, to the finals against the Delaware Bluecoats. He would go on to lead the Vipers to victory while taking home the finals MVP too. Trev's unbelievable G League season didn't go unnoticed. In July of 2022, the Sixers signed him to a 2-year deal worth a little over $2.5 million. I'm happy for our boy, and his days of sleeping in cars are over, and it looks like Trev may have finally found a home.